Okay, no introduction. I'm going right into it. We're stopping at Samech Tes at the top. So Tali le Rab Rebbe Beni Chuti. Rab was sending a letter to Rebbe, and between the chut and between the lines, the way Rashi learns, he put the following shaila. Right? He put the following shaila. Achim sheshivdu achim that what? That meshubid, right? That achim that the nechasim are that they inherited from the father, that there's a lien on them. What's the din if the girls can go ahead and collect from mishubadim for their nedunya, and what and the mezainis? So can they collect from these mishubadim? In other words, can they collect the mezainis, or can they collect their what? Their parnasa, what we call the nedunya. Those are the two things that we've been speaking about. So mahu. Have a Yosef Reb Chia Kamei. Reb Chia was sitting right now, Amalei, and he said to Rebbe, Machroi or Mashkenai. That Sheba, knows was it sold, or was it given as a collateral? When we say a mashkin, in other words, when we say it was meshubed, the lien on it, was it in a property as collateral, or was it a sale? So Amalei Mainafkul Amnina says Rebbe, there's no difference. Bein Machru bein Shem Mashlu, there's no difference. My seal the parnasa bein with seal the mezainis. You want to know? You had a shaila. What you do when it comes to the dunya, you will collect it. When it comes to mezainis, you won't collect it. We spoke out mezainis, you don't collect from mishubad. It's not a dova kitzvah. It's not a set amount, and therefore people don't know to how to ascertain the amount. To be careful not to buy. Anyway, so Rebbe said, tell Reb Chia after Rav asked him this shaila. Again, Rav had learned by Reb Chia is Rav's uncle, and Rav was a Talmud of Reb Chia, was a Talmud of Rebbe. Rav bridged the gap between the Tanoim and Amroyim, and when push comes to shove, and there's a machloikas Tanoim and Rav, on rare occasions we'll say Rav Tanahu who polig. Rav is a Tana and argue. So this gives us a little historical perspective of these people. So he said it doesn't make a difference whether the Sheba was a mashkin, was the Sheba was a mechira. Nonetheless, you can take it back for Nedunya. You can't take it back for mezainis.
So Nedunya wasn't that the first Sheba?
What?
Nedunya considered the first Sheba?
No, I'm saying the question is, could you collect from Mishubadim or not? That's the question. In other words, there's the Kesuba is, but maybe the Kesuba is Meshubah, but not necessarily in the Dunya. So now says the Gemara, the Rav imachru kami boile. If Rab was Shaila was a mechira, nichtav le mechira, then write machroi. Imashkan kami boile, nichtav le mashkan. So the Rav Travayu kami boile. Rab was bothered by both. Which one? However, he didn't want to limit it to one. Besavar. Ikosivna le machroi. If I would have said machar hanicha, right? Ishalachli they might see, and it'd be fine if they tell me you would take it away. Kolshke mashkanai. Then I would say, if machroi, if you sold it, you get it back. Certainly a mashkin, which is not an outright sale, you get it back. However, Ishalachli ein might see, and if he would have sent me back ein might see, a katni mashkin kami boile still a shaila. Maybe a mechira I wouldn't get back, but mashkin I would get back. And ikosivna le mashkana. If we wrote a mashkin. Yishalach li the aim might see in that you don't take out the mashkin and kol shkein machro. Again, machro is more out of rishus than a mashkin. So if you're going to say that you don't take mizainis or parnasa for what? For a mashkin, certainly kol shkein machra you want for a sale, right? However, yishalach li mitziin, if they would have said mashkin, you might see in a kati machro kami boy. I would still have a shaila that maybe machro or not. So therefore, echtav le shibudei. I wrote shibud stam the mashmahachi and mashmahachi. I wrote a lashon ketzara which covered both bases. And the answer was that einachinami. You're not einachinami. You're not mitzi. The Rebbe answered when it comes to mezainis, you are mitzi. Parnasa, you are mitzi for the nedunya, but you're not mitzi for mezainis. That was the answer. Rabbi Yochanan is of the opinion echad zeh v'echad zeh. He says what? Now Rabbi Yochanan's arguing with Rebbe echad zeh v'echad zeh. Whether it is a mashkin or whether it is what a mechira, ein moitzian. So he's disagreeing by parnasa. The Zionists they're agreeing. Parnasa by nedunya that's what a machloikus is. Now iboyelahu Rabbi Yochanan lo shmiya leha de Rebbe. Now Rebbe is a Tana. Rabbi Yochanan is an Amayra, right? Gedolei Amayra, but he's an Amayra. So now iboyelahu Rabbi Yochanan lo shmiya leha de Rebbe. However, vi shmiya le havi makabelei. In other words, Rebbe is a heavy hitter. Rebbe is a Tana. So you would have heard that Rebbe says that what? That might see in Nedunya, that might see in the dunya, maybe he would have what? He would have agreed. You know, maybe he would have agreed. By Dilma Shmiele, he did hear. Maybe Shmiele he did hear, and nonetheless, blame Kabale, and he's disagreeing. Okay, so again, let's reiterate. You have a shaila over here by Mizainis, everyone agrees you don't take. Right. Now, what about you? From the person owed you money. It's the field is in the hands of somebody else. So the Inyan Nidunya, we have machlokes. Rabbi says you would take it, and Rabbi Yochanan says you don't take it. Now we have a question, Rabbi Yochanan. Is Rabbi Yochanan arguing? He heard what Rabbi said and he's arguing, or he never heard what Rabbi said? Had he heard what Rabbi said, he would be moided that what that might see, and you would take after the dunya. That's what we're holding right now. Pashma, let's be pasha the shaila ditmar. Misha Mace, a person dies. V'niach shtei banoi suben. What he dies and he leaves 2 daughters and a son. The kodma rishoin, the nala isin achasin. One of them gets on a dunya. She takes a 10th, right? And the second one doesn't get a chance to collect her 10th until the son dies. Okay? So now the question is, you have 2 girls now who are going to go ahead and divide up the estate. So what do we say now? Does the second girl take the ether, take the 10th, like the first one, and then divide up what's left? Or she doesn't take the 10th and they just make a division on the Yerusha? That's the question. That's the question. Again, one more time. You have 2 girls, a boy. One girl took the Nedunya, the 10th of the estate. Brother died. No other heirs in the family. Only these 2 girls. Does the second one take an Easter like the first, or no? She's mevater it, and what? And you would just divide the estate. So this is the subject at hand. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Shniya Vitra. The Shniya, the second one is mevater the 10th. She doesn't take the 10th. Good. Amar Rabbi Chanina, Gedoy Lemizu Amru. We say something bigger than this. That might see in the Parnasa, the ain might see in the Mizainais. Viat Amrit Shniya Vitra. And you say what? The second one is Mavata. So what does this mean? We go ahead and we're going to go ahead, and if the Nedunya was in the hands of somebody else, right? If the Nedunya was in the hands of somebody else, we're going to go ahead and take it away. Even if the brothers will mishaba the property, right? If the Nedunya is so powerful to take it, right? And you're saying Vitra. In other words, it doesn't make any sense, right? Certainly she shouldn't be Mavata. The koyach, right? The koyach Nedunya is so strong, you take away from somebody else. Certainly, where it's still within the family, she should get it. Now, the Im Isa, if he did that, what that he had heard from Rabbi, that he right Namalei, if he hadn't heard from Rabbi, Namalei, he should have said Man Amra, who said this? Who said that you're Maitzi Leparnasa? In other words, Rav Chanina is telling Rabbi Yochanan Maitzi in the Nedunya. Yes, good. Why did Rabbi Yochanan hold, guys? Ain Maitzi, you don't go ahead and take away the Nedunya. So, based upon Rabbi Chanina's conversation, what should Rabbi Yochanan say? Who says? Who says? Right? Who says that? But he didn't say that. You know why he didn't say that? Of course, he had heard it and he'd argued on it. So we want to bring a raya that Rabbi Yochanan had heard Rabbi say Maitzian for the dunya, and he's arguing and saying, no, you don't. That's what we want to say. But Amit Shniya Vitra, Mamish what we need over here is one word. But you might seal the parnasa, meaning you will take back the nedunya when it's by somebody else. So how's it possible that you say over here she doesn't get a nedunya when it's in the family? Now, that point that Rabbi Chanina made and said that you take it back, that's in direct disagreement with Rabbi Yochanan. Good? Because he said the dunya you don't collect from Mishubadim. Good? The Im Isa, if you tell me that he hadn't heard, name Malay, he should have said to Rabbi Chanina, Man Amra, who says you take back the nedunya from a Mishubadim? So l'chayr, what do you have to ascertain? He did hear, and he disagrees. Says maybe la'olam lo'ishmi'alei he did not hear. L'chishmi'alei kibul, and had he heard, he would be makabel. He maybe the shiny eye, guys. So if he would have been makabel, why over here doesn't she get her east in the chasam? Guys, you hear what he's saying? Somebody else is saying you're going to take it back. Over here, you're saying you don't, right? I'll tell you why. The MS, he holds the what? Like Rabbi. If it was in the hands of somebody else, you would go and take it back. You know why she's not taking it back now? B'shani hasam, dika rav chabesa. She's getting a Yerusha now. You know, she's getting the big bucks now. Says Rashi, Shahari nistakra harbe. She's getting a lot. Shonei tell us chatzia Yerusha. She's taking a half. So maybe that's why you're mavata. You know, what's easy, where you get nothing, mavata is a chiddush. When you get something, you're getting a large sum of money. So maybe that's why. So Fred the Gemara, you have no raya that he disagreed with Rabbi. Maybe he agrees with Rabbi. Over here it's different. That is mavata because he's getting a Yerusha. Right? That is mavata what that he's getting a Yerusha. Good. You good? Amalei Rav Yema Rav Ashi Elamiyata. You're telling me the svara. What are you telling me? You're telling me a svara when a person goes ahead and gets a gain. Mavata. What about this? Ashkacha mitzia ba'alma dika ravcha besa hachanami lo yavina le'yisin nechasim. Let's say Stamazah, he has an adunya in the property, right? And she goes ahead, she finds a large sum of money in the street. You're going to tell me she's mavata? Once you get a monetary gain, you can say you're mavata. There's obvious chilik, right?
Yeah.
One is in the estate, and one is right. Says Amalei. So it said Rav Ashi to Rav Yema, I know Ravcha Besa mehani nichse kamina. I'm speaking about what? When you're making money, you know, off from the gufa where you want to take the adunya from the estate, but not right. Okay, that's the end of that. Okay, so we don't know. So machlokes again, Rabbi and Rabbi Yochanan, a stama shaila, then a dunya. If it's the brother sold the property, meshubed, it's a meshubed to the dunya not. Says Rabbi yes. Says Rabbi Yochanan not. Now, when the girl collects her nedunya, her father's dead. She's collecting her nedunya. There's two ways to view it. Do you view it she's inheriting her father, or do you view it that she is like collecting a chayiv from the father? Do you view it as Yerusha, or do you view it as a chayiv? My nafkamina. If you view it as Yerusha, they can't go ahead and say, 1 second, okay, we have 10 fields. You'll take that field. Because if you're a Yoirish, you have a chelik in every single field. If you're a Baal Chayiv, it's just a matter of that value. So we can give you money, we can give you a field. So that's the question. The sons, when the brothers are giving her when the brothers are paying her up, when the brothers are paying her up, is it Mitaris Yerusha or Mitaris Chayiv?
But it can't be Mitaris Yerusha, right?
Why?
Because my girl wasn't Yerush my time. So
What? No, but Nedunya, Hefke Bes and Hefke, she's going to be in Hefke. She's going to again Mitaris Yerusha, not again. She's getting something. Mitaris Yerusha, sons get and girls don't get. But what they're saying here, she's collecting something. That collecting, what Torah does it have? She's getting this, right? How does it coming to her? Does it come from the father who died Mitaris Yerusha, or does it come Chayiv?
Ksuba is not a Yerusha. Ksuba is it's not different than Ksuba. Ksuba is a chayiv.
It is different. It is different. The father's achrayah in the dunya. It's different than a ksuba.
It depends on how the father acted towards that girl.
That's just the amount. That's just the amount. That's just the amount. So here, Amar Meima Bas Yoresh is have. Amar Ravashi Lameima Ilu Boy Lesluke Bezuze. If the brothers wanted to go ahead and say, here, take money and not the field, were they able to do it? Amalei in, correct. If they want to say, take one specific field, amalei in. That's Amem's opinion. Ravashi disagrees. Ravashi Amar, Bas, Balas Chayv Habi. A Bas is a Balas Chayv. Good. The Af Amema had the bay, and even Amema had Charata. Dama Rav, Min Yumei, Berei Rav Nechumi. Have you kim the kamei da Ameimar? That was in front of Ameimar when the following question came. For us, hi isasol kamei the havis kaboy isin nechasim. She wanted to collect on the dunya. The chazite ledaite, and he saw it in her das that the iboy lesluke bezuze having masalikla. She would have taken money, all right? The shami me'ache the havi kamalei ilu havilan zuze solikna bezuze bishtik, and he remained silent. And Rabbi Ameimar remained silent. So obviously Ameimar should have said, what are you talking about? It's a Yerusha, correct? So Ishtik remains silent. So we see from his shtika that what? Guys, what do we see from the shtika? That he's moided to what they said. Okay, so fascinating Taisus here. I find this fascinating. Look at the third Taisus now. So in other words, by his shtika is agreeing sort of to say went transpired. Mikan rogol Rabbeinu Tam kishayoyshiv bedin v'echem mibalei dinim migazim lechaveroi hoy mekach v'chaf tischayev li bedin rogol hoy Rabbeinu Tam loymar sheker atadoiver. Rabbeinu Tam would scream out, "You're a shakran! Kilo yischayev shem ein loy ledayin loymakain." If it wasn't normal that the dayan would give teichacha, what raya did Rabbi Menuhi have? The fact that Amen was quiet. In other words, the fact that Amen was quiet because it was the norm. Because if you were lying or disagree with halacha, he would open his mouth. Mikan, Rabbeinu Tam inferred from this Gemara that if the dayan disagrees, he shuts screen. It's like fascinating, right? Isn't it? Every little picture of a Gemara, little things that you couldn't possibly think have such a significance. You hear? Unbelievable. So Ishla Malamidi. Mahashta the Amit now. Outside guys, a Baal Chayv. This is first base. Really, if you lend a person money and you say, where's your collateral? The collateral midoraisa is from Ziburius. We know there's three types of land. There's Idius, Beinidus, and Ziburius. Idius being the best, Beinidus being the middle, and Ziburius being the worst. Good? Midoraisa, it's the worst. Now here's the problem. Why should I lend you money that if you foreclose on foreclose on the loan? You foreclose on the loan, I'm gonna get some lousy piece of land. So you know what people would stop lending money. So what did they do? They upped it. They said, Shleitinal Delis, if they love him, not to close the door in front of Halva, they said you collect from Beinidus. Good? Collect from Beinidus. Anishas Kesuvos, collect from Ziburius. A Baal Chayv collects from Beinidus. What about if you come to collect from the Yisoimim? A Baal Chayv that collects from Yisoimim. Okay? Baal Chayv collects from Yisoimim, two things. One, you need a Shvua, and two, you get Ziburius. They keep it on the rice of the Gedin. So two nafkaminas. So if you're a Baal Chayv of the father, you collect from Beinidus without a Shvua. If you're a Baal Chayv of the Yisoimim, you collect from Ziburius with a Shvua. With that in mind. Says the Gemara. Now that Amemar agrees with Rav Ashi that it's not a Yerush, but a Baal Chayv, the Abba or the Ache? Is it a Baal Chayv of the father, or the Baal Chayv of the brothers? L'may nafkamina, l'migba l'beinidus, shalei b'shvua. To collect, if she's a Baal Chayv of the father, you're going to collect from Beinidus without a shvua. V'ziburius b'shvua, and if it's a Baal Chayv of the, it's the Chayv that's being paid up, guys. The Chayv that's being paid up, is it the father's Chayv or is it the brother's Chayv? Right? So it's the father's Chayv. She collects from Beinidus without a shvua. If it's the son's Chayv, the brother's Chayv, she collects from Ziburius with a shvua. What's the din? Tashma. The Ravinan Agbe Libarte de Ravashi. Now, here's the background over here. Ravashi had a son, Marba Ravashi. Ravashi died. He died before Ravina. And he had a son, Ravashi, Rav Sama. Rav Sama died as well in the lifetime of Ravashi. So there's two Gevias over here. One from Ravashi's estate and one from Rav Sama's estate. That's what we're discussing over here. But the Ravina Agbe Libarte de Ravashi, Mimar Berei de Ravashi. What did he collect? From Beinidus, Ushalei B'Shvua. So you see that what? Alma, where you see that what? That is considered the Baal Chayv of the father. So she collected for the daughter of Ashi from the Nedunya of Ravashi's daughter from Mar Ravashi, very famous, right? Collecting from Beinidus. So what do you see? Baal Chayv of the father. Guys, good. Baal Chayv of the father. And Berei de Rav Sama, they collected from the Berei de Rav Sama, right? Berei, her nephew, Berei de Rav Ashi, right? Ziburius b'shvua. She collected Ziburius with a shvua. So you see that what? That from the collecting from that was so in other words, the Paisha the Shaila really that what that you're collecting from, it's the father's chayv. That the dunya is the father's chayv and you collect from. Shalach li Rav Nechemia Brei Rav Yosef Rabba Rav Huna. Suta menadoi kiyasa hay isisol kamach. So when this woman comes in front of you, ag beis in the chasim afilu mi'itzta rublo. Collect the tenth of the chasim from the base of the mill. Basically, the mill was attached to the ground. It had then a karka, and then you only collect from karka. It's mechubal the karka, as then the karka had worth. Collect in the dunya even from that.
To make that a mashko?
What?
To make the mill a mashko?
You didn't make it a mashkin. You're collecting the Eastern Nechasim. You're collecting property. It's not a mashkin. You're collecting property. Rav Ashi Kavina be Rav Kahana. When I was by Rav Kahana, Yeshiva Rav Kahana, having makbina nafilu me almud the base. They collect even from the rent of the houses. The houses were what? Were mechuber. So they even collect from the rent of the houses than the dunya. Okay, now this story gets a little interesting. And here's the story. Rav Anon is going to send a shaila to Rav Huna, and he sends it in a way like he's a compatriot of Huna, like he's a colleague. He's not a colleague, and Rav Huna is going to let him know it. That's the backdrop to this Maisa. But yeah, it's ups Maisa, right? Shalach le Rav Anon Rav Huna. Huna chavin shaloim. Huna, my friend, shalom aleichem. Not calling him Rav Huna. Rav Huna was the Gadol Adar. Huna. Ki asi ha isasol kamach. And what was the message? When this lady comes in front of you, ag be'isin nechasim. In other words, I pass and she gets in the dunya. But that's not the more important part of the story. The important part of the story is what? The way Rav Anan addressed Rav Huna. Huna chavin shlim. Rav Yosef Rav Sheshes Kamei. Rav Sheshes was sitting in front of Rav Huna when this message came. So Amalei, Rav Huna said to Rav Sheshes the following: Zil Amalei, go tell Rav Anan, Ubishamta Yehei Mandalei Amalei, and whoever doesn't listen, meaning if you don't listen, I'll put you in Shamt is a type of chayrim. Here's what you should go ahead and tell him. Anan, Anan. In other words, he's giving him back to him. Anan, Anan. Mimekarkoi, Amimetatali. You want to collect from karka or metaltalin. This is the dunya. Uman Yosef Bey Marzicha Beresha, and who sits in the house of a Marzicha is an Aval Beresha. Who sits in the house of an Aval Beresha? Right? That's what he said to him. Now, Azur Rav Sheshes Kamer Avanan. Now, I can imagine this is not the most geschmacka job in the world to get. Rav Sheshes has got to bring this message to Rav Huna. So, Azul Rav Sheshes the Kamei de Rav Anan, Amalei Rav Sheshes to Rav Anan, Ma Rabba, you're great. Ma Rabba, you're great. Rav Huna Rabbi de Rabba. However, Rav Huna is the Rabbeim of great. Shamuti Shamit Madlei Amalei, and he's going to put in here many more than say. In other words, he loved the Shamis Loi Havi Kamina. And if not that he's going to put me in Chayrim, I wouldn't have said this, but I got to do it. Anan, Mimekarkei Oyim Mataltali. Uman Yosef Bey Marzicha Beresha. And who sits why did the oval sit in the top? So now, also Ravanan, the Kamei de Marukva, right? The Ravanan went ahead and he came in front of Marukva. Amalei Chazi Mar Hechi Shalach li Rav Huna. This message Rav Huna sent me. Anan V'oid Marzicha the Shalach li Lo Yedana Maininu. I don't know what a Marzicha is. I don't know what that is.
Didn't he call Rav Huna Anan? Didn't he say why is he upset?
So one second.
Why would Rav take why would he be slighted? Because he did the same thing.
Just because the oval is doesn't mean
Rav Huna's doing them.
Yeah, but isn't he going back? He went to Rav Hukman now. What's he saying to Rav?
So no, so Rav Anan is telling Marukva the story that happened.
Yeah, but he's kind of like insulted, right? That
Correct.
he should be
Correct. He's insulted.
It wasn't insult.
It wasn't an insult.
It wasn't
It wasn't an insult. Exactly.
But shouldn't he have in his mind, I insulted him?
I don't think people think that way, Harold. Anyway, so v'oid marzicha the shalach lo yadana meininu. No, trust me. If Rav Anan thought that he was in any way poiging Rav Huna's covet, he wouldn't have done it. Amalei, Emily. So Amalei said Rav Mar Ukva said to Rav Anan, Emily easy amid beis gufa dov that havi. What exactly happened? So Amalei told him, Hachi v'hachi avi maisa. I sent him a letter. Huna chavin shalom. That's what he sent him. So Amalei said Rav Mar Ukva to Rav Anan, Gavrod leyoda mayniu marzicha shalach le Rav Huna chavei. Someone who doesn't know what a Mazicha is sending like you're a contemporary of Rav Huna? In other words, guess what? He got very little empathy and sympathy from Marukva. Again, sometimes people mistakenly they make they say the wrong things. Anyway, so what was the thing that he put him the head of an oval? So no, Rav Anan was the head of his town, right? The oval also sits at the head, not because of chashivas. He just sits at the head. He gave him a little zug. Yeah, it was a shtach. So now, so in fact, what? So what exactly? So you don't even know what marzicha is. So my marzicha. What's a marzicha? What exact? What I told? Well, you know already. It's it, right? My marzicha. What is that? Right? Oval dichsiv. The pasuk says in Koyamar Hashem al tavoi beis marzeach. Right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Yirmiyahu, you should not come to the base oval to be menachem. So you see, base marzeach means a base oval. That's what marzeach means. We give another source. Amar Ravavu, minayin le'ovel shemesiv b'roish. How do you know the oval sits at the top? Shenemar, the pasuk says, evchor darkom ve'eshev b'roish. I will choose their ways and sit in front. Ve'eshkoin kemelech begadud. I'll reside among them like the king and the troops. Kasher avelim yenachim, like the avelim yenachim. So the Gemara says yenachim is acher mashma. It's mashma not the one that is needs comforting. It's mashma yenachim, the one is doing the comforting sits in the head, not the ovel, but the menachem ovel are sitting at the head. Says the Gemara, Amar of Nachman by Yitzchak, Yenucham Kasiv. Don't read it as Yenachem, read it as Yenucham. Yenucham is a pual that is happening, the one that needs it. Masutra says, it says, V'sor Mizrach Ruchim, and Darshan in the Pasuk, Mar Vizach. Mar, he's bitter, Vizach. He's very bitter. His mind is Zach from him. He has no Yishuv Adas. His mind is wandering because he's a novel. So Nasa Salas Ruchim, he should become a sar to Gedolim that come to Menachem, that come to Menachem. Sruchim means Gedolim. Amar Rav as well. The hilchos that halacha is that the karka, a woman and girls, they collect from karka, blowing metaltlin, bein lemizayni, whether it's mizaynis, bein leksuba, whether what it is a ksuba, neither one you collect from metaltlin, only from karka. Take a look at Taisus Amar Rava, second down. Le'el not periyashnu the bisman hazeh, in the time of Chazal, pulin and metaltlin, you collect what from metaltlin. Says the Mishnah. Right? Bein leparnasa. Right? Okay, a person, hamashlish mois lebitoi. Guy does following. He goes ahead, says Rashi, masa mois biyat shlish. He puts money in the hands of a third party, litzarich bitoi, for the purpose of his daughter, liknoi sadeh, to buy her a field, or in the dunya, or as in the dunya, l'chashitinase, when she gets married. So in other words, man is having a little insurance policy of his daughter, and he has a person in charge of it. He's more than an apotropos. He's commanded to buy a field or in the dunya when she's married. So mashlas mois lebitoi, v'hi meres, and she says, Neman baili alai, you know what? My baal, I believe him. Give him the field. Give him the money to buy the field. What's the halacha? Father's dead. The shlish does the job. Guys, a very vague Mishnah. The shlish does the job what he was commanded to do. Says Rameya, mitzvah lekayim divrei hames. He said the shlish, you do the job. You have to get. There's a lot of background over here. Everything's missing. You'll see. It'll come together. So now that the mitzvah l'kaim divrei hames says Rameya, and you don't listen to the girl. You listen to the shlish, right? Rabbi Yossi says v'chi eina ela sadeh. Let's say it was a field. Let's say he bought the field. Now, if he bought the field, would she be able to sell it? Pashas, yeah. He writes to Lamaikra, harihi mechura me'achshav. Good. So l'chayra, Rabbi Yossi is probably saying that. Listen to her. Now, b'medam amurim b'gedoyla al b'ketana a ma'isa ketana klum. When are we talking about? Medam amurim. The Gemara is going to explain what is this going on. What? When that we listen is speaking by a gedoyla, not a ketana. Okay, this Mishnah does not make any sense. we're going to put it all together. Abrius will put it together in the Brisa. Good. Tanrabanan. Hamashlis moyes lechasnai. Someone is putting away money for his. It's really for his daughter. It says lechasnai because you're going to buy. What happens when you buy the field? Nichsei tzayin, nichsei or nichsei tzayin basel. It's written in the Kesuba. Nichsei miloi. He's going to get use of it. In other words, he is gaining by this. So hamashlis moyes lechasnai. He's gaining by this. He's going to get usage. He's going to get the fruit. Likach mein sada lebitai, to buy a field. So this is our Mishnah, guys. This is our Mishnah. And she says, "Yinasna lebali." Right? Give it to my husband. What's the din? Min hanasuin, after marriage, the second stage of marriage, harishus biyada, you would have to give it to her husband. Min ha'erisin, the husband from erisin, yasa shlis mashal hushlim biyada divrei. So in other words, we just went ahead and qualified the Mishnah a little bit. Exactly what are we speaking about? Like Remeya, we're speaking about when don't you listen to her? Only if she's an arusa. But if she is an asua, if she is the second, meaning full-fledged wife, then her ratzon supersedes the shlish, the shalish. Guys, good? Reb Meir does not make a distinction in her age, does he? Does not make a difference between gedoyla or ketana, simply between erisin and asua. Reb Yosi Aimer hagedoyla bein min hanasuan bein min ha'erisin harishus biyada. Kitana, bein min hanasuan, bein min ha'erisin, yasa shlish mashush lebiyadai. Okay, Reb Yosi says it all depends upon the status of the girl, whether she's a gedoyla or whether she is what she is a kitana. Okay, so now let's go. Let's go through the variables over here. If she is a gedoyla and an asua, Sai according to Reb Meir, Sai according to Reb Yosi, you listen to her. If she's a ketana and an arusa, everyone will be maida, you listen to the shlish, right? So now, what happens? There's two other possibilities, right? She's a ketana nesua or a gedoyla arusa. Good. Let my binayu l'chayra. It's those differences, right? If she's a ketana arusa, that would be an afkamina. Light Reb Meir, she's still wad and arusa, you'd listen to the shlish. Light Reb Yosi, she's a gedoyla, you'd listen to her. If she's a ketana nesua, ketana, like Reb Meir, you listen to the shlish. Like Reb Yosi, since she's nesua, you listen to her. Good? That apparently is, let's see if that stands up. But those are the two, we have the two extremes, gedoyla, nesua, ketana, arusa, and then we have the middle. Good? Geshmak. Now, my binayu. Ilema ketana min anasua binayu, guys. The ketana min asua, that which would make sense, right? That light Reb Yosi, you listen to her. Light Reb Meir, you listen to the shlish. It could be binayu. The Reb Meir savar harishus biyada. Reb Meir says what harishus is biyada because she's in asua. What? Ketana min anasua, because Reb Meir only cares about what? The marriage state, right? The state of marriage. V'yas Reb Yosi lemeima. Afilu min asua nami gedoyla in ketana loy. Good. That would be an afkamina. In other words, is ketana min anasua, and is that an afkamina? We have two possibilities: gedoyla arusa, ketana nasua. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and do away with one. Says the Gemara. Ema seifa avol ketana. What does the end of the Mishnah say, guys? Avol ketana ein ma'isa ketana klum. Guys, good. Now, so if ma'isa ketana is nothing, even Reb Yosi would say that. Now, the question is Reb Yosi the one who said the last part of the Mishnah, Reb Meir? It only would be a problem if Reb Yosi said it, right? Haman ketanila. No, so 1 second. No, nachama. So Reb Meir would say, if a ketana nesua, Reb Meir would say what? You listen to her. It says, Ein ma'isa ketana klum. If we prove to you those are the words of Reb Meir, that would go ahead and get rid of it, right? And the only nafkamina you would have would be what? Gedoyla rusa. Oh. Al-Ketana, Emaisa Ketana Klum, Haman Ketanila. Who said those last words in the Mishnah? Elaim Reb Yosi. If you're going to say Reb Yosi, Hamei Reisha Shamat Mina. From Yosi, you hear that the sale of a field can only be by a Gedoyla. That, in other words, it can't. Reb Yosi Al-Kach says the Ketana is out of the ballpark. Dam Reb Yosi, He Eina Ela Sada. He writes in the Meichra. Harihim Mechura Me'achshav. Gedoyla de Basavina in, Ketana de Basavina loy. What was Rabbi Yossi's words in the Mishnah, guys? Let's go back to the Mishnah. Rabbi Yossi Omer, V'chi Eina Ela Sadeh, if there was a field now, he writes and she wanted to sell it, Harihu Mechur, it's a good sale, correct? A Ketana, it's not a good sale. A Ketana is not a Barzvina. She can't make a sale. The only one that can make a sale, what is a Gedoyla? So therefore, when it says at the end of the Mishnah, Ein Maisa Ketana Klum, it has to be Reb Meir. Because we heard from the Reisha, we can infer from the words of Reb Yossi in the Reisha that what? That the sale is a sale. It can't be a Ketana. El Reb Meir it's Reb Meir he. And the Mishnah is missing words. V'hachi Ketani, and here's the way you have to read it. Yaseh HaShalish Masha Hushlish Biyadai. The Shlish does what he has to do. Reb Meir says, the Shlish does what he has to do, right? Meaning, he buys the field and doesn't give it to the husband. The Medavam Amurim, that's Mina Erison. That's only if there's Erison. Aval Mina Suin, Harishus Biyada. And even in the Suin, it's not a carte blanche statement. It's Dafka B'Medavam Amurim B'Gedayla. Aval B'Ketana, Ein Maisa Ketana Klum. So therefore, it can't be that a Ketanamin and the Suin is the nafkamina between what? Reb Yossi and Reb Meir, because they'd all be Maida, Ketana is garnished. Ella, what do you have to say, guys? Gedoyla mina erisin ikibinayu. A gedoyla mina erisin. Light Reb Meir, not light Reb Meir. Since what? She's an arusa. Nothing. Light Rebbe Yossi. Since she's a gedoyla. Yes, you listen to her. Very good. Shmak and Kamara. Logical. Very good. Itmar. Reb Yehuda Omer Amishmul Lach Reb Yossi. The Lach is like Reb Yossi. You go after what? You go after age. Rav Amar Nachman Lach Reb Meir, and it seems to be that Lach is like Reb Meir over here. Okay, well, we had a Gemara in Tainus. The Gemara in Tainus spoke about Ilfa and Rabbi Yochanan. Ilfa and Rabbi Yochanan were dirt poor. They were obviously learning. Tainus Chaf Aleph, they were dirt poor. And they said that we have to go to work. And they went to work, they will buy a bridge. And all of a sudden, Rabbi Yochanan hears something. It says, you're going to work, you're going to be Adam Gadol. He asked Ilfa, what did you hear? Didn't hear anything. Didn't hear anything. So Rabbi Yochanan knew it was him. Rabbi Yochanan returns, and he's a Rosh Hashiva. Ilfa goes to work, and Hastus, Ilfa was Roy Lakach. And he worked, and he came back, right? So this is what happened when he came back. So yeah, this is 1 second. A little break in between a few hundred block Gemara. Yeah, Yuvamis is such a, you love it, right? You did it. You could say you did it.
I did. I tell everybody to be down to the limit.
Anyway, Ilfa, you did it, not me. Ilfa told Nafshe Biskaria de Makusa. He was standing in the mast of a ship, right? He said, Omar, Ika the Asi the Omar Li Milsa the Beirav Chia the Ravashi. If anyone can come and tell me a brisa that was not edited by Rav Chia and Ravashi, and I can't show you a source from Rabbeinu HaKadosh, I'll fall in from this mast and I'll fall in and I'll drown. Now this is very interesting. A bit of a, I mean, he was so sure of himself. So I saw a great shot. He must have been a very good swimmer. Ben Yoda says he must have been a very good swimmer. Why? He didn't say go to the top of a building, because then it's also to ma'abed yourself. You also commit suicide. So he went top of a mast and says, because if he would fall in the water, he wouldn't drown, but he wouldn't die either. So it's very geschmack that his master, that Dafka, he went to the top, would fall in water and not fall on something a little harder. Again, he's not allowed to do it. You're not allowed to kill yourself, right? Okay, so now, also who's Saba, the Saba comes along. Now, anytime there's a Saba, that's Eliyahu Navi. Saba is Eliyahu Navi. So Tanalei, Ha'omer, if a guy says, Tenu shekel lebini, give a shekel to my son. A shekel is a half a selah, b'Shabbos. I want you to provide for my son, a half a shekel for a week. But Ruyan litenim selah, and it's right to give him a selah, meaning inflation. He needed more. He needed 2 shkalim. Noisim hem selah, you give the selah. Because we say that the father, he just wanted his son to go to work, but he wanted him to, but if his allowance wasn't large enough, you go to daddy, remember you get allowance in the old days to get allowance. Now I don't know what they do with Manazeh. You get allowance. Credit card. So V'im Amar, and if he says, Al tidnu lehem ela shekel, he's makbid, only give a shekel, ein nois lehem ela shekel, then you only give a shekel. V'im Amar, and if he says, Im mesu, if my sons die, Yorsha acherim tachtayim, others should take their place. Bein shama tnu, bein shama al tidnu, ein nois lehem ela shekel, because obviously he wants something left over to give to those people. Amalei, so he said, hum money, they want to know who said this. Amalei, it's Reb Meir. The Amar mitzvah kayim divrei ames. You see in our Mishnah, that's the connection. Reb Meir said, the guy said, here you buy a field, right? Buy a field, go ahead, take the nedunya. The wife says, give it to my husband. What do? You shlish, you give it to her. You listen to the shlish. Why? Mitzvah kayim divrei ames. So who are they over here? Mitzvah kayim divrei ames. Leave the Yerusha for those other people. That's what he said. Amar Rav Chisda Amar Ukva, Hilchas Halacha is bein shama tenu. Whether you said tenu, bein shama al titnu, it's not that you don't. We said it before, al titnu, that you only give this the shekel. No, nois lehem kol tzarchem. You give them whatever they need. All right. I Fred Gemara kaim lan halacha Reb Meir mitzvah kaim divrei ames. So l'chayra, why should you go ahead and not go ahead and give them only a shekel? Hani mili b'mili achrina. So any other things mitzvah kaim divrei ames. Aval becha. Regarding this, in this particular case, the man is in fact happy to give a seller. Why? He just was wanting to be mizaris them. Rashi says, right? Second line. Rav Sanim is a glutton. No, is the man. If they don't have to work, they can be sitting and fressing their faces off, getting high blood pressure and pre-diabetes, all kinds of gewaldige things, right? So therefore, he said, listen. I'll go ahead and give them X amount, and you know what? They'll go to work, and it'll be good for them. And so therefore, but if they can't get by with this X amount, even when he said Al Titnu was only a way to be Mazaris them. Well, let's finish the parak. Tan Hasam, Pu'utois. Pu'utois, Rashi says the girl is 8-9 years old. Pu'utois is she didn't reach the age of 12, but she has sense. She has sense. In other words, she understands things. So Mechon Mekah, anything she purchases, is a purchase. A mecher, and what she sells is a sale. If it's metaltlin. Rashi says for a sale of karka, Rashi says the Gemara in Baba Bas says as much as 20 years old. Even to sell karka, you have to really be a business person. When is the sale a good sale? That's dafka. It's not apotropis. Apotropis. If it's not apotropis, there's a person who's been in charge of the estate of this Yisrael, of this young girl, then it's not a good business deal, not a good transaction. How do you know that? It says that's the connection over here. Our Mishnah says, "Ein ma'aser katanim klum." Says shlish, maybe shiny. Maybe when there's a shlish, it's different. In other words, the reason why the ein ma'aser katanim klum is because there's a shlish involved. So in Cain, if that's the case, lisni aval b'katana yasa shlish mashoshim yodei. But in the case of a katana, let the shlish do what he wants to do. My ein ma'aser katana klum. It's mashma. It's a very, very, universal term. It's an encompassing term. Shmamina afilu ba'alma, even ba'alma ein ma'aser katana klum. Hajulach mitzias isha.